Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome to another Vampire the Masquerade Rivals the Expandable card game. This is for the Shadows and Shrouds expansion. So like all other expansions, it will add two brand new pre-constructed decks for our two new groups, the Lasombra and the Hecata, or Hecata. My brain wants to say Hecata, but it's Hecata. So brand new things. We're also going to get some new tokens in here as well, plus the crypt with extra bonus cards. So before we jump in too far, let's look at what our clans do. Clan Lasombra. Lasombra are a clan of ruthless overachievers. Those who are used to winning and want to keep doing so for a few more centuries. As vampires hungry for triumph, they prove their worth by making a show of their victories. When the Sombra vampires earn agenda, they often attach it to themselves and then score it later. With many successes come quickly, as often happens to the Sombra, the clan can leave agenda on their vampires. Those tempted to steal it away should be aware that they are no pushovers. So that's kind of going to be a neat, interesting idea. And then Clan Hecata. Relatively new clan, mostly comprised of the remnants of several near-defunct clans and bloodlines. They value family highly, and some compare them to closely related mob organizations. The Hecata use the Oblivion in more subtle ways than Lasombra. One of the biggest differences is their use of ceremonies, which are called rituals. So we're going to play some rituals that were also in Blood and Alchemy. The big difference here is the Oblivion rituals gain their charges from mortals in the burn pile. So we'll go over that a little bit more when we get to that. When we get into that. So we're going to first of all look at some new concepts and keywords. So these are updated rules from the expansions, or from the base game. So some of these might have been shown previously in other expansions. Burned pile rules for core and all expansions. Keep your burned cards in your own personal burn pile so your cards don't get mixed with other players' cards. They're all public knowledge. The core book says to move a burn pile away from the play area, but for burned city cards, they should be kept nearby as they are used for different effects in the expansion. Players may to separate burn events and burn mortals into two piles. So, more or less, it's saying when it says burn cards are removed from the game, it's saying don't throw them back in the box 10 feet away. Keep them somewhere nearby because you might be able to somehow get a burned card back. Or you might need to be able to know how many burned cards are in your pile versus somebody else's. So don't mix them together. And then for the city deck, there are potentials at any point for them to always get returned back into them. There's literally one card that says return all burned cards back into the city deck. So you don't want to have them tossed too far away either. Updated to poor rules for all core expansions. Basically, they're changing this so that any card that says, instead of saying if this character is a poor, we'll just have the Tapor keyword, and that means it works if it's in there. Again, this might be updated if they're like a re-release set probably already has this. Agendas on vampires and spending agendas. Some vampires are so confident they're willing to spend incredible amounts of resources to achieve their goals. There are several cards that cause agenda to be placed in your vampire. May spend agenda on their own cards or on your agendas. A vampire may never spend agenda found on another vampire. Agenda tokens may place vampire from any source. May be spent by that vampire if able. If a foe defeats a vampire's agenda, that foe earns that agenda and places it on their own. Agenda on a vampire is not agenda on your agenda card. So it's not counted towards your total. So yeah, if your vampires are putting them on themselves, they can spend theirs. Or if they're spending them, they can spend them off the agenda card. But they're not mutually the same exact thing. Dialabre, so I'm probably saying that wrong as well. The act of consuming a defeated vampire to destroy them completely and gain some of their essence. You must have permission to commit a Dialabre via specific cards. So there's certain cards in here they'll say you have, like you can do this action. That's all it's pretty much saying. Oblivion rituals are ongoing cards that take time and mortal blood to perform. Rituals were in the Blood and Alchemy expansion use blood from vampires. These ones use mortals instead. So they're a little bit different. We have Reach. Vampires with the keyword Reach may attack characters in the streets from their havens. Exhaust vampire in your havens are still members of the attacking party. City deck mortals are not characters and thus cannot be attacked this way. So it just basically gives all your characters essentially range. And then we have Wraith. Ghost Gun is being created through various card abilities. Then they attach and grant the vampire a random special ability via a Wraith token. When a Wraith is created, remove from the mortal city deck. The Wraith is created, remove a mortal from the city deck burn pile, flip it face down, and attach it to the vampire who received it. Draw one random Wraith token and put it on top of it. Then place a face down attachment. Alright, so we're going to take a look at some of our tokens quick before we jump in too much. So here are Fear and -1 Blood Potency tokens that just showed up in other sets. Fear, if we flip to the back side, basically just say it is not ready during the start of the next turn. And Blood Potency just reduces your overall health. If it ever hits 0, then you're dead. There's Wraith tokens, there's 6 different ones. On the other side of each one, they're going to have abilities. We have one here, it says Relentless, which means you can use this ability at any time. Flip or Exhaust. When attacker loses 1 blood potency, or when attacked, put a fear token on the attacker. The other 4 are all Relentless to flip or exhaust, either +1 be one of the attacks, physical, social, or mental, or gain a defense. So kind of fairly basic abilities, but still pretty interesting to have. Take a look at those Wraiths a little bit more. 6 different tokens in this game. At the beginning of the game, they're placed nearby random face down, then shuffle them, create a Wraith. To create a Wraith, you need a card ability that allows it. You also need at least 1 mortal in the city deck burn pile. So if there are no burn mortals available, a Wraith could be created, no Wraith is made. So that's why it wants you to keep them set aside. Says, ability tells you to create a Wraith, remove it, place it face down, so you're going to use that card as your Wraith. Draw a card from the top of the Wraith token stack, look at it, then attach it face down to the card in your vampire. So you know what it is, but your opponent don't. This Burn Mortal Wraith token counts as an attachment against the 3 attached limits. A vampire may attach more than 1 Wraith. So you attach them like you would anything else. The Wraith remains face down. You choose to flip it up, which may be done any time for any reason or no reason. All Wraiths have a Relentless, means you can play them whenever. Flip it for the first time, generates the effects, and then once it's face up, it remains face up. If it is, you can exhaust it to activate the effect. So basically, you can go ahead and use it once to flip it, and then you can exhaust it in the same turn even to gain the extra bonuses as well. But then your opponents will know what it is, so it removes the surprise. We have Oblivion Rituals. We just kind of go over these quick. So they're ongoing rituals. So ongoing rituals cost 2 actions, but only 1 is required to play it. So you exhaust 1 vampire to play it, but it costs 2 of your actions, unless you have an additional vampire with the Oblivion symbol. Then you can pay them to pay for the other action. He's not combining action with an unhosted action. When playing Oblivions, place them face up near your table, then count the number of mortals in the city burned pile. You may place up to that many blood tokens of your color from the general supply on that ritual. For example, if there are 4 mortals, you may place up to 4 tokens. The phrase burn mortals is seen reference only to burn mortals in the city deck burn pile. Blood tokens of your color are finite resources, meaning they can run out. Therefore, you may not want to commit too much blood because you have a limit of 32 blood prestige between all of your vampires and cards. This is the total found on the 20 you start with and how many you get overall. You cannot borrow blood tokens from other players. If you're playing a ritual heavy deck, then playing 4 rituals with 5 blood each might severely restrict your ability to recruit or mend vampires. So as you're playing them on there, you will play them, you'll slowly remove them to use up the ritual, but you play too many in a row, you're going to not be able to do other stuff or be able to heal. So it's kind of a different thing to do. Yeah, so there's going to be some more little in-depth things. I'm not going to go into every single nuance of that. Just kind of talks about how you can play it. The last thing we wanted to look at is diablerie. To drink the blood and consume the essence of a immobilized vampire, bring about their final death. Unauthorized dialabre is unthinkable to vampires in claiming any shred of civility. To perform it, you must have permission or a certain card. So there'll be various cards that'll tell you to do it. So you commit dialabre on a vampire you just defeated, attach the victim to the vampire who defeated them, so the victim's leftmost column is showing, like so. So he added his thing to it. You gain the attributes of all the vampires that are higher than their own, as well as all their disciplines, and a bonus of +1 blood potency. This does not menu. Yep, so defeating them is not defeating them a second time. If a victim is burned, they cannot be consumed. So if you do an aggravated, they can't. You burn all attachments, including titles, on them, so you don't gain any of that stuff. When your vampire is concerned, you do not place a blood token on them, as they are not being placed into the poor. When a dire bliss is defeated, burn all vampires that attach to them, proceed as normal. There are no penalties for performing unauthorized dialabre. Yeah, so basically you just remove them. So basically what this is showing here is that Marcus here, since he gains any that are higher. So since he already has a 1 over a 0 and a 2 over a 1, he gains no physical or mental, but he does gain 2 social. So now he has an additional blood potency, 2 extra social. He also gains all 3 of these things. So he'll have the extra aspect and fortitude, but he also gains a second oblivion. So he gains an additional one. So this is a great way for characters to gain more and more disciplines. Alright, so that's the rules for those. Let's go ahead and hop into these guys. Speaking of Marcus, let's go ahead and just look at him for Lasombra. Let's have the royalty crown. Reach may attack characters in the streets from your haven. As this character performs an action, place 1 victory on them from the general supply. So you're going to keep placing them on there, but it's that risk reward. If you can't figure out how to get them off using another effect, you're just basically creating a target for yourself. Gia the Emparian. Party. When this party defeats a character, move 1 victory point from any of your characters in your courtier to an agenda card. So there we go. What is also neat here is, this is, I think, the first one of the few times you have 2 6s, so you have 2 different leaders you can choose from right off the bat. Adrian Beliza, reach and attacker, pay 1 victory point. This attack, or 1 agenda. This attack does +2 damage to the target if you do not play an attack. Interesting. So if you don't play an attack card, he does extra damage, but it costs you your agenda. Raven Smith. Exhaust, steal 1 agenda from target foe who has the same amount of agenda as you, and put it on this character. Interesting. So it could be limited how it works, but helpful. Juan Carlos Diaz, who has reach and attacker. This attack does +1 damage to the target if this character has played a card with Oblivion. Nice. Aranche Solk, who has guard, and who's not 4 cost that has guard. Ooh. And pay 1 agenda to get +2 defense during this attack. And our final vampire is Astrid Mahala. Party, pay 1 agenda. This attack has +3 until if the attack defeats the target, gain 1 prestige. Definitely nice. We have Prize Spider agenda. As you attack a character, put 1 agenda on your attacker. At the end of your turn, put 1 agenda from a character in your coterie on your agenda card. Okay, so this is a way to move your card, but you can also put agenda on another character. Therefore, if you have a way to defeat them, they can go ahead. But it could also be an interesting way for you to, again, make that person a target. Maybe other players weren't as worried about them, but you start putting like agenda on them. they might target them. Yes, that another player will get that agenda point, but it could help you get rid of a more powerful vampire that you don't want to deal with. Such, strategies. We have the Haven, the Tenderloin. Leader ability, remove X agenda from X different sources you control. Pay X less prestige to recruit your next character this turn. Interesting. So basically use your agenda to pay for your characters. That's kind of cool as well. Alright. Our main deck, we have 3 copies of Arms of Ahriman. The superficial means you cannot do lethal damage. Now reduce attack below 1. Deal 1 physical damage to target character in the streets for each fist in the party. If you have Oblivion, pay 1 agenda, and it's not superficial. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Neat. We have 3 copies of Cloud Memory, mental attack. Dominate, I believe? I can never remember what all these symbols mean. If this attack deals +1 damage to the target, that foe discards 1 random library card from their hand. Ooh, discarding always sucks. Always sucks if it happens to you. 2 copies of Diminish. 2 actions, Rituals. This is an Oblivion ritual. For each burn mortal, you may put +1 blood from the general supply on this card. So that's going to be the same line for all of these. I'm not going to read that every time. Ongoing, remove 1 blood from this card and put a -1 blood token on target character. So it's going to be interesting at these versus the other rituals. The other rituals, you put 1 to 3 blood on, so you basically just had to be able to spend your own blood or spend blood from somewhere to be able to do it. These are relying on mortals. So you have to somehow get mortals in the discard pile first, and then you can spend them and it uses the blood. But you have to get mortals burning first. So you kind of have to work a little bit harder versus just sacrificing your own character's lives for it. 2 copies of Fight Makes Right, unhosted action. Ongoing, each character in your coterie has +1 influence for each agenda on them. I'll help you win some battles with your influence. 3 copies of High Stakes is social attack, +1 for each agenda on the attacker. 2 copies of Interrogation, social attack. If this attack does +1 damage to the target, look at that foe's hand. Ooh, there is another set, one of the other expansions that has really powerful ability if you can see what's in someone's hand. And as of that point, there hadn't been any cards that did that. So this could be really useful. I'm not going to say what set, what card. 1, because I don't remember off the top of my head. And 2, because it has nothing to do with the set. But that's neat that I knew there'd eventually be a card that did that. We have a clan-specific ability or card. 3 copies of The Gate, which is a unique title. Exert 4 influence to attack. This character has +3 influence and has +1 blood potency. Ooh, that is definitely nice. 2 copies of Money Shot. Physical attack. If you have the fist, if this attack defeats the target, put 1 agenda from the general supply on your target character in any coterie. Cool. So this will actually let you put them on other players as well. So it's neat that you have the ability to do that. 3 copies of Shadow Boxing, a physical attack. It's literally a shadow punching someone. I love that. +1 damage for each Oblivion this character has. If the attacker has reach, +1 additional damage. So this works really well with Huang here, who has 2 and reach. So yeah, +1 for each on him, so he does 2 there. Plus he has reach, he does 3. So he gets 3 additional damage. Now he doesn't normally have any physical, so he just does 3. But that's actually pretty cool. He gets something like that. We have 2 copies of Shadow Cloak. Attached to the character, to the acting character. Oblivion, this character has 1 secrecy. Attacker. This character deals +1 damage to city deck mortals. So minimum does damage to mortals. If you have the Oblivion, it does extra secrecy. We have 2 copies of the 6th Tradition Destruction. Influence Conflict Steam. Ooh. Should I deal 1 aggravated damage to target character and 1 additional aggravated damage for each 5 influence in favor of this steam. Oh, wow. This could be very interesting how this could work, because normally you just, whatever, 1 damage. As long as no one's at 1 health, people might not be too worried about it. But you could pick someone and they could be like, yeah, I can hit 1 damage, but all of a sudden someone's like, I really want that guy done. Here's 10 influence. I can do 4. You can do 6. Or have 3 people join up to take out 1 guy, and you could burn them. It's just gonna be a way to get other people to like work with you to like really take out 1 specific character. Like that guy's leader is like a pain in our ass. Let's all 3 of us just work together to take him out. Could be very interesting. Although you're gonna make a lot of enemies that way, very interesting. 2 copies of Timbrous Avatar, which is a reaction for all 4 attack types. Oblivion, pay 1 Jenga plus 4 shields during your attack. Definitely cool. Alright, got a couple more here. We have 3 copies of, I love these, Throwing Shade. He threw a Barstool's Shadow. I love it. Ranged attack of this party has +2 Oblivion, +1 damage. 2 copies of Utter Darkness Mental Attack. Oblivion, put a fear token on the original target of this attack and the blocker, if any. Just a black card. We have Clan card. We have 3 copies of What's Yours is Mine. There's a Steam, Influence, Conflict. Should I steal 1 agenda from target foe at the most? If there's a tie, choose 1 of those foes. Is other player, are they willing to let you steal 1 or not? It's basically how that comes down to. And then we have 3 copies of Winning. Put 1 agenda from the general supply in each character in your coterie. Nice. This is a very interesting deck in clan design, where they're trying to use that agenda as extra ways to just to put it on your characters and then use cards to pull it off. All of a sudden now you can spring from, oh, he has 5 agenda or 6 agenda. All of a sudden you have to worry that you start counting his characters. Oh no, he has 4 extra, so instead of 6 he technically has 10 if he can get that agenda off his cards. Or again, like I said, you could use that to like put it on other characters or even on some of your own and make that a target to like draw focus a certain way, because other players might attack a character as a agenda on them versus somebody else, because they'd rather have that agenda. There are 2 deck dividers or box dividers there. Alright, let's jump into our other clan. We have the Hecata. So these guys have the little mysterious masks up there. That's kind of neat. As you play a ritual, you may move 1 blood from any number of your characters into the pour to that ritual. Ooh. So you get basically those characters are healing anyhow. Let them take 1 extra turn to heal to make your ritual last even longer. Very interesting. Sophia Giovanni. To pour, for each wraith you control, put 1 of your color from the general supply on target character, including into pour. So if you control a bunch of wraiths, well, she is she's knocked out, recovering, you get to put 1 color on target character. So basically she gets to heal someone a lot for having race. That's neat. Kwame, if he's in Kapor, if you control 2+ race, draw 1 card. This is interesting. So these guys are gaining a lot of abilities for basically being in comas and resting. Nathaniel. He's in Kapor. If you control +1 rituals, gain a prestige. Zahara. So this actually works out that first character. It says pulling blood off these guys. Because in that way you can pump up your rituals, and that keeps some guys in Kapor longer, so their effects keep activating. When this character is defeated, you may create a wraith and attach it to a character in your coterie. Nice. Bianca Giovanni. Kapor, if you control 2 rituals, gain 1 agenda. And finally, Kirsten. Exhaust. Target character in the Kapor loses 1 health. Oh, right there. Again, it's going to keep them guys in Kapor. That's an interesting concept for a character deck. That's really neat. Death is only the beginning. Exhaust. If you have 1 characters in Kapor, gain 1 agenda. If you have 3 plus, gain 2. Nice. So basically you're gaining for having characters being defeated. The Eternal Life Mortuary. Leader ability, 2 blood from a character in your coterie. This may reduce them to 0, which puts them into poor. Burn target, unattached, city deck vagrant, or citizen in the streets. Oh, and this works with burning guys, so you can use them for your wraiths or your rituals. That's neat. Okay, cool. We have 2 copies of Clairvoyance, Action, Aspect. With the foe's hand, choose 1 library card there and place it on top of the library. Gain 1 unhosted action. Ooh, again, getting to look at people's hands is always interesting in games like this. I'm not usually a huge fan of seeing what's in other people's hands, but since this is a very strategic game, this could have some really good advantages. Plus, you get to pick one of their cards that they don't get access to. Has to be a library card, but still. 3 copies of Early Grave. Recruit a Hecate character from your hand into Kapor at no cost. Oh. Recruit a character, you put them straight into Kapor. That's neat. So basically you can play one of your characters for free, throw them in there, and then gain their ability. That is neat. 2 copies of Flesh of Marble. Reaction special. Play only if a character in your coterie would take aggravated damage. +2 defense for each, I think that's Fortitude, this character has. If you have that, damage becomes physical and non-aggravated. Interesting. So it's only going to work if they have that symbol, that discipline, but extra defense, and it becomes non-aggravated. That could be very helpful. That way they don't get burned. That's the idea, because you want your characters, it's fine if they die, but you want them into Kapor, not to be burned. 3 copies of Grave Robbing. Discard 1 card and choose 1 player. For each character that player has in Kapor, either draw 1 card or gain 1 prestige. You can choose yourself. Remember that. That could be very helpful in this deck. 3 copies of Graveyard Smash. It's a Monster Mash. I better have a Monster Mash card in one of these decks at some point. Superficial. +1 damage for each burned mortal. Cannot reduce attack as below 1. But yeah, it can potentially do a lot of damage. It just can't defeat someone. We have an additional copy of Interrogation, which we saw in the other deck. 2 copies of It's Your Funeral, social attack, +1 for each ritual you control. We haven't had a ritual yet in this deck, but I'm assuming they're coming. 3 copies of Living Shadow, mental attack, +1 for each wraith attached to the target. If you have Oblivion targeted, you may retarget its attack any legal target in the opposing party. Nice, so if they play a blocker, you can turn around and undo that or attack somebody else. 3 copies of Necromancy. Discard card from the city deck until you discard a mortal, then burn that mortal. If you burn a mortal this turn, activate a character. The active character may also play a ritual at no action cost. If they do, lose 2 blood points. Oh, that's cool. So you can spend 2 blood to do a free ritual. That's definitely not bad. 2 copies of prowess from pain. Attack, deal additional attack damage equal to the character's blood point minus their current health. Okay, so basically the more health they have, the more damage they'll do. That's neat. We have another Shadow Cloak, which we saw. It's kind of neat. We're getting more of this blending between the two decks like they did sort of in the base game. Some of the other expansions kind of went away from that. You can see where they would work together. They didn't share cards initially. I like this when they do share a couple of cards. 3 copies of Soul Crushing. Social attack. Oblivion +1 for each card attached to the target character. Again, wraiths are attached. 2 copies of Spectral Possession. Exhaust 1 wraith attached to active character. Ready target character in the streets. They become a separate party, take 1 additional action with that character. Cool. So yeah, you can put that guy down there and have him ready to go. We have 2 copies of Spirit Touch. Reveal the top card of a player's library. Gain prestige equal to its cost. Its blood cost. If you gain no prestige this way, there's just cards like these action stuff that don't have any. Discard revealed card and ready acting character. Nice. So that's kind of neat. So like basically, if you don't get anything, they lose their card and you get to have another turn anyhow. So you're not wasting anything. 2 copies of Summon Spirits. This is our ritual. Each burn mortal, you may put 1 blood token from the general supply on this card. Ongoing, remove 2 from this card. Create a wraith and attach it to a character in your code area. When this is empty, burn it. So basically, the more you can play, you can go, but you have to get at least 2 to be able to even use it. Another Timorous Avatar. 2 copies of Gift of False Life. 2 actions, ritual. Ongoing, remove 1 blood from this. Place that blood in any character into pour. Then move that character to their owner's haven and ready them. When empty, burn this. Oop. I ran out of space on my thing here. We have 2 copies of the Scent of Death. Ongoing, remove 1 blood from this. Target wounded character loses 1 blood and then burn. Nice, just extra damage to them. I also love each targeted characters because you can, again, use this with this deck to potentially hit 1 extra time on one of your guys to put them into pour. And then we have another copy of Utter Darkness. And we have our 2 deck dividers. Nice. So this is a really interesting themed deck as well. Like, it wants you to create wraiths here and there, but it's not going crazy about it. And plus the fact is, against the other deck, if you're making wraiths, you're burning mortals and using them, which then makes the other rituals harder to play because there's not mortals to sacrifice or to count in there to add more blood tokens. So basically the wraiths can get rid of those, which is a neat counter action as well. Yeah, and then keeping them guys into pour to do stuff. That's a very interesting strategy. Like, you have some sets that want to have, like, as many characters out. This one wants to keep guys kind of dead so you can keep using their abilities, which is a really interesting idea. Alright. Then let's look at our crypt cards. We're going to start off with our alternate agendas. Most impressive. At the start of your turn, if your blood potency in the streets is higher than each individual foe's blood potency in the streets, gain 1 agenda. So, okay. Your blood potency in the streets is higher than each individual foes in the streets. Gain 1. Okay, so I'm guessing what that means is if I have 2 characters in there and they each have 3 blood potency, so I have 6. 6 would be each individual character unless there's another character that has 6 in there. It would be, if I had other players had a 5, a 3, and a 1. But if I had 3 characters, vampires in there that each had a 1, so I only have a total of 3, and 1 player has a 4, it wouldn't work. So that's kind of neat. So you get kind of almost rewarded for either having higher level characters or more characters. Or upping your blood potency, or reducing your opponent's blood potency, different things like that. We have Wake the Dead. Exhaust. If you control +1 race, gain 1 agenda. If you control 3, gain 2 instead. So very specific to this deck right now. The Big House. The start of the game, put 1 prestige from each foe's general supply on this. Okay, that's the first time we've ever had a card that's had a special effect like that. Leader ability. Characters in your coterie have +1 blood potency, so I would work with that first agenda. Give a foe 1 prestige of their color from this. Galvanize a vampire in that foe's coterie that your leader just defeated. Oh. Okay, so this is our only card with the Galvanize in there. They mentioned it, but I was like, you just realized I hadn't seen any cards that had that. So yeah, if your leader defeats a card, you can basically steal 1, but you only get to put 1 on there unless you have some other way of putting tokens on there. That is neat. Mission Cemetery. Burn a retainer in your coterie, create a wraith, and attach it to the character in your coterie. Okay, basically you're burning a mortal, and it's letting you use it for that. Alright, our new vampires for Hecata are Enzo Tappa, who has Reach and Party. This attack goes +1 if the attacker has a wraith attached. Cool. And then Scott. Just Scott. When you create a wraith, you may choose your wraith token instead of drawing it at random. Shuffle the stack afterwards. Ooh, that could be helpful. Our Lasombra, we have Piero Caleron. This character has +1 intel. Attacker. If this character has a title, this attack cannot be blocked. Very powerful. And then we have Mi Ying Yang, who has Reach and Party. This attack does +1 damage to the target if there are 3 mortals in the burn pile. Nice. We have our next set of cards. I'm going to skip that. We're going to look through the ones that are all ones we've already seen before. We have 1 copy of Clairvoyance. We have Diminish, we've already seen. We have Fight Makes Right. Flesh of Marble. It's Your Funeral. Money Shot. Prowess from Pain. 6th Tradition Destruction. Spectral Possession. Spirit's Touch. Summon Spirit. Gift of False Life. And Scent of Death. So those are all the ones that were already in the other 2 decks. We had 2 copies. We just gained our 1 extra, so we have 3 versions of each. Then we do have some brand new ones, which we have 3 copies of each of these. Bind the Spirit, which is another ritual. Relentless, so use whenever to remove 1 blood from this. Attach a wraith in your coterie to any character. Oh, that could be helpful. Guys, about to die, you can move a wraith somewhere else. It's neat, because once these are played, most of them you have to spend time to remove them. You have to do it on your own accord, so you don't have to use them instantly or they're not just going to run out. We have 3 copies of the Court of Blood, which is an action title 1 per player. So, exert influence attached to the acting character. That character has +1 influence. Deattach, the character galvanizes a vampire defeated by this attack. Okay, cool. So you have a second way to be able to do that. Neat. That's pretty cool. And then we have 3 copies of Mental Block. Unhosted action. Ongoing, your foes may not play cards with the same name as a card attached to this. Exhaust. Deattach a card attached to this. Attach the top card of the foe's library to this card. Oh. So basically you can shut down one of their cards. That's pretty neat. Yeah, that's the only thing is you don't know what card it's going to be. That's the only problem, right? And if you're kind of good at keeping track of stuff, you can be like, assuming that they always have at least three copies of most cards, you could be like, okay, they've already played 2 of them, so this card's completely useless. Or if they've only, you can always assume they even have 2, so once they played the other version, or if you see they have it and they can't use it, or if they played already, like, oh, I'm gonna assume they don't have a 3rd one. Just kind of a neat idea. I'm sure certain decks can find ways to use this really well, but it could be very limited in its own right. Alright, so that is what we have for Vampires. So the Rival, Shadows, and Shrouds. Yeah, 2 very interesting sets of characters, using the agenda as a way to, like, manipulate things going around, as well as keeping guys into pour with the other one, playing with them different types of rituals that involve mortals being burned. So are these better than the blood rituals? Maybe, maybe not. So blood rituals you can just pretty much do whenever. These ones you have to have mortals, but again, you're also not sacrificing blood off your character. You're pulling them from the general supply. So you're not sacrificing your overall... You're sacrificing your overall blood, but not ones off your characters, which might make them easier to defeat. Alright, so that's what we have for this. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Check out the rest of the Vampire Rivals videos. See you guys later. Bye.